everybody. It is Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome. Welcome to the old, the new, and the awesome, the very first episode over here in 2023. I am very excited to be back today after a bit of a hiatus because life is just the bitch that it is. What can I tell you? And it is also really nice to see almost all of us here today. It's great to have Stacy back. It's been a while since you've been here, Stacy. Happy 2023 to you.
Hello.
And Gina, of course. Gina, it's always great to chat with you. How you doing?
Tired.
Yeah, I definitely feel you there. Yeah, so unfortunately, Cammie will not be here with us tonight. It's unfortunate. She was really looking forward to this, but she's, of course, been dealing with a lot on her plate, as we all have, which is why I decided what better hot topic to choose before we get into all the pop culture fun. You know, it's another year is gone. 2022 is behind us. I will definitely have to say that this may be the greatest year of my life, but we all know that the reason as to why is because of the fact that my wife and I added our daughter to our family. And even though there were some not so great days before and after the baby was born, of course, in 2022, I mean, there's been a lot of insanity going on in the world. Unfortunately, I wish that there could just be one day where I can actually get Charlie Brown's wish and say, stop the world, I want to get off, but that never seems to happen these days. But I don't really know how 2023 is going to upstage 2022, just because, adding a member to your family is probably one of the greatest things that can ever happen to anybody. I mean, is it true, Stacy? I mean, you guys have too. So is it a great feeling, or are there some days where you literally say, why did I have kids?
I can't imagine life without them. That would have been really weird if we were just a couple still with no kids. That would be bizarre.
Yeah, it is weird to think about the fact that, now that I have this little over 8-month-old just being her adorable self, like I say to myself, I sort of can't really remember what life is really like when I didn't have a child. It's weird,
The house is more quiet.
No, the house is not really noisy when she's, when she is awake and she is like just being the person that she is. I mean, I will definitely say she has an amazing personality. She does these adorable things on a daily basis. But, it's just, unless she's really, really excited, that's really when it gets really noisy, because she's not really much of a crier. It's crazy to say that. And I get a lot of fellow parents very jealous of the fact that she sleeps through the night. She has no difficulty when she's eating. She loves almost everything that we give her. She entertains herself most of the time. Mm-hmm. And she's just fun. She's just really a lot of fun. Although I got a really funny story the other day, because she does go to daycare, and apparently she does right now. She's in this stage where she is doing these happy squeals. So she's screaming a lot, but she's not upset about anything. She's just having a good time, and she's high octane energy. Apparently last week, she screamed one of her happy squeals and scared another baby.
Aww.
And I said to myself, oh, dear God, please tell me we're not raising the class bully. That would be the weirdest thing for me and my wife, because both me and my wife were bullied in high school.
Yeah, I don't think that would ever happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but I was just like, are you kidding me? She actually scared a baby all because she was just having a good time.
Aww.
But we get compliments from the daycare people all the time. And they're just like saying to me, whenever I pick her up, or when we both pick her up, or if my wife just picks her up on her own, they always say, you have no idea how lucky you two are. You have like the greatest, most well-behaved child on the planet. And we're like, we don't know how we did it. It just happened.
That's because if you had a second one, the second one would be the devil.
Yeah.
Well, we're one and done, so we're not having another one at this point. I actually said this to my wife months ago when the little one was still like in the early stages of life. And I just remembered that even though it was not the most difficult thing in the world, it was definitely a challenge those first 2 or 3 months. And my wife was always saying, outside of financial matters, it's like, we're not having another one. We're too old. We don't have the energy. And after dealing all that, I said to my wife, I think I finally understand where you're coming from. So I will say, like the Holocaust, never again. Although the only horrible thing that happened is the fact that apparently I came down with a serious case of mother's hand or mommy hand, also known as de Quervain's tendinitis.
I never heard of it.
Yeah, apparently it's something that mostly affects women after they give birth. It's basically a case of tendinitis that is from the base of your thumb and goes into your wrist.
Ugh.
I didn't know what it was, but I've had it for just a little over 2 months, and it's because of straining your hand muscles or tendons when you're constantly lifting your child up or adjusting car seats or adjusting high chairs or lifting things from place to place. Because, yeah, you're carrying that baby everywhere until it decides it wants to be mobile. And while my daughter likes to spin around and moon crawl, as I like to call it, meaning she crawls backwards, she's still not crawling forwards yet. She's still
Aw.
very much stationary. So it's a little bit difficult. We sort of have no choice. We have to pick her up. But I thought I strained a muscle, and apparently I was misdiagnosed. And I went to my doctor, and my doctor diagnosed me and says, you don't have a strained muscle or a torn tendon. You have a de Quervain's tendinitis. I was like, really? But it's starting to feel a little bit better. My hand has actually felt the best that it has been in almost 9 weeks. But I will just say it was horrible because it's in my dominant hand. And there was a point in time where I couldn't even write or open a pickle jar or something like that. That's how much it hurt.
Yeah, it's
Dang,
not
yeah, I
fun.
can get that.
Yeah, it was weird. But what can I tell you? It is what it is. But anyway, what did you guys think of this past year? Was it good or was it bad or indifferent? I mean, I know that Stacy, you had a couple of things happen. I know that Gina had a lot of stuff going on at work.
It was interesting. It was a mix of good and bad. A lot of firsts. I flew for the first time.
Right. You went to California, right?
Twice. I got my ears pierced for the first time,
Nice.
which was exciting.
Very nice.
A lot of interesting things happened. Went to the Renaissance Fair like 4 times.
That's awesome.
It's been fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
sounds
really
like a
nice.
good year.
I'm glad. I'm very glad for everybody to a certain degree, because when you took a look at everything that was going on in the news, you wonder how could anybody have a good year, and especially after and considering that it's been 2 years, almost 3 years since, the big pandemic from 2020, it's just like, what is going to happen? Where are we going? What are we doing moving forward? I mean, I will still say that one of the few things I'm not upset about is the fact that I am still working from home. And I got to say, it makes me feel a lot better being close to home, just in case there was ever an emergency with my daughter having to be picked up. Because I still remember something that actually did happen was I actually got myself a different job. I still work in the same place, but now I don't work for one person. Now I actually work for a department. So it's a completely different job with lots of different opportunities, which is exactly what I really wanted there.
Nice.
And the funny thing was, my old boss, he was trying to get me into the office 3 days a week. And at one point in time, I was going in 3 days a week, reluctantly. And I said to him, it would be really great if we could work out a little bit more of a flexible schedule, because I want to be close to home in case there's an emergency. And he said to me, the chances of you dropping your daughter off at daycare and then being told you have to come get her is an 1,000,000 to 1 shot. 2 days after he told me that, I get a call from the daycare center. Thank God I was working from home, had to pick up my daughter and take her to the doctor. He didn't get it, but I don't work for him anymore. I'm grateful for that. And right now, it's a good job. I'm really enjoying my new position. I'm still doing what I've been doing for the last 8 years, just for a completely different division. And It's a great group of people. We treat each other very respectfully. And I'm just glad to continue to remain where I am because all in all, I truly love where I work. And I really did not want to have to force myself to look elsewhere because I wasn't sure if I was going to get this change. And I literally was telling my wife, I think I need to start printing out my resume and start taking interviews if I could. And luckily, the next week, I find out that they're going to make the change. So thank God.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm very, very grateful for that. Extremely grateful. But we'll definitely say that the thing that I was very happy about was I actually went to the movies before the year was over.
Yeah.
I actually got to go to a movie theater for the first time in almost a year.
I did too. I don't think I've been for 3 years.
What
This
did
is
you
the
see?
The Onion, Glass Onion.
Oh, wow. Well, it looks like the three of us all saw it. We actually,
Yep.
I watched it on Netflix, actually.
I did too.
I should have watched it on Netflix, but it's the first
Right.
movie I saw since I went and saw
Oh,
Knives
wow.
Out at the theater.
I
That's
actually,
funny. That's kind of a fun full circle.
I
didn't
actually,
realize it was coming out on Netflix, so we saw it in the theater like 2 weeks before it came out, and I was like, spent all this money because I took my 2 kids when I could have seen it for free at home. So
you know something, at least you got the theatrical experience, and I hope everybody still had a good time because the funny thing is my wife and I did watch Knives Out. We didn't see it in theaters. We watched it on Netflix when it first came out on Netflix, and we liked it. We really did. As a matter of fact, after we saw Glass Onion, we actually bought Knives Out on DVD because it was on Amazon for like $5.
Oh,
And
nice.
we remember really liking that movie, and we were like, why don't we own this movie yet? But we actually had a good time with Glass Onion. For me personally, I thought it was a little bit better than the original because it had a twist that I really did not see coming.
I liked the premise, but I think I liked the first one more. I was just kept getting bored with it.
I
I
personally
like
just
the
like,
first one a million times more. I like
all
the
right.
setting, like the English manor type of
Yeah.
setting. I like that so much more than the island, and I like the cast of characters, the actors so
I
much
agree.
more.
I
Yeah.
agree.
The second movie to me were the epitome of just everything I hate about everything Hollywood, and they were so annoying, and I'm like, I don't like to see these type of people on Twitter, online already, and then to have to sit through a 2-hour movie seeing those types of characters. I was just annoyed the whole time.
I feel
Well-
like that's probably my issue too. I couldn't quite pinpoint what I wasn't liking, but that tracks.
I liked
Well-
the family dynamic in the first movie, but
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
the weird friend dynamic, I didn't like it.
Well, I really appreciated the first. I mean, look, Daniel Craig was still great, and
Yeah, he
in both,
He's
and
the
I
best
still
thing.
and I'm a huge Edward Norton fan, so I really enjoyed him in that movie. I really did. But in the first film, Anna de Armas and Chris Evans are really the selling point, you know. And and she also has excellent chemistry with Daniel Craig, which is why I always say if they ever want to make a James Bond film with a female lead, Anna de Armas should be the one, because when I went to go see the latest James Bond movie, she played the Bond girl, Paloma, and she's only in the movie for 20 minutes, and she kicks some serious ass. I mean, my dad is a diehard James Bond fan going back to the Connery days. And after we walked out of that movie, he was like, I want more of that girl. She was really good. Now, she was excellent in wow, why am I blanking on that movie's name all of a sudden? And I loved it. Wow, I completely forgot the name. No Time to Die. There it is. She was great in No Time to Die. Anna de Armas, I mean, I know that she got a little bit of a criticism for Blonde. Cammie said her piece on that. But I would very much like to see her in a lot of other movies because I think she's great.
Yeah, I love the characters in the first one. The
Yeah.
second one, I was plus adding all the COVID stuff in the second movie. I was like, are you kidding? Like, I
Yeah.
go to the movies to escape all of this stuff, and I don't want to have to see it in one of my favorite movies. Like, stop
There was a
already.
there was a book that came out. I can't remember what it was now, but like it came out while we were still like in the middle of like the height of the pandemic. And it was just like all about COVID, and I didn't realize that when I picked it up, and I hated it. I'm like, we're living this. I don't want to read this.
Yeah, no, like I've had enough of this. Please, please take your mask off, please. Like,
Yeah, I
like,
will say it was really
just don't get through
interesting.
the screen. Take your mask off.
Right. It was really interesting what, like, looking back through my pictures from the year, seeing like all of us masked, and then all of a sudden we weren't.
Yeah.
That was kind of like, I was like, oh right, we were still masking at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
think they should have not worn them in the movies and made
Right.
it such a big thing. It really is making the film to not be timeless. Now,
Yeah.
anytime throughout the history, anybody watches this film, they'll know exactly what time period it is, where the first Knives Out movie is
It
timeless.
could be whenever, right?
Yep,
exactly.
yep.
Exactly. So yeah,
like-
so the movie that I went to go see was in theaters. I went to see Black Panther: Wakanda Forever because we weren't going to see Avatar: The Way of Water because, I mean, I know Gina saw it and I'm sure Gina's got stuff to say, but I'm just going to say this. I hated the first one. I was bored. I slept 15 minutes through that movie. I hated it so much. No intentions of seeing the second one. I'm glad it's making an ass ton of money. Good on you, James Cameron. Bravo. Keep doing what you do. I don't care. Everyone else is going to see it. I have no intentions, but I loved Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I had
It's
such
so
a
good.
blast with that movie, and it's only because of the fact that I loved Namor.
Yes.
Because this is a character that in comic books that I've been waiting for to finally show up, because I don't know if either of you know this, but Namor was actually the second superhero that Marvel Comics ever made. And number one, they weren't called Marvel Comics at the time, and it was 1938 when he came out. So he precedes Aquaman, which is pretty interesting. So the fact that there was this old comic book character finally showing up made me very excited. And this movie got a lot right that they seem to constantly fail at in Marvel films, and that was they wrote a very strong antagonist.
Yeah.
That's what I really appreciated about it, because the truth of the matter is Namor is not necessarily a villain, neither in the comics. He's just an anti-hero. He butts heads with the Fantastic Four. He butts heads with the Avengers. He's been on the Avengers. He's been on the X-Men, but he's still the king of Atlantis in the comics. That's the one major change that they made for the movie. And the truth of the matter is it made sense. I had no issues with it, but I feel that this movie corrected a lot of the things the first film did wrong. And a lot of people could disagree with me on that, but I just remember enjoying the first movie, but hating that last action sequence because it was so cheesy and so fake looking. And this time around, all the action looked crisp. It looked clear.
Yeah.
It was like a symphony of beauty that I watched. And I think even though it was the circumstances that came around to create this movie, you know, to a certain degree, I'm not going to say that I'm happy that Chadwick Boseman is dead, but the fact that he is not in this film finally gave us the character development for the rest of the cast. Because
they did a really good job working around it.
Absolutely.
Like, I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. I wasn't sure if they were going to like immediately like go right into it, but like the way they did it was perfect and very respectful.
Yes.
I was afraid about that.
Yeah, I know. But no, they did a great job. But it was, you know, Shuri got more character development. M'Baku got more character development, and all these other great characters. Like, it was great to finally see these actors who were all in the first one that barely really got much time to really shine. Like, I loved Lupita Nyong'o in this film. She was so much better in this one than she was in the second one. But Denai Guerrero was the best part of the whole film. Yeah. She was great in the first film, but she was better in this movie. Really, really great.
And it was great. I didn't watch any of the trailers or anything, so I had no idea what the villain was going to be. I had no idea. Like, I wanted to go in blind, and as the second the sirens came out, I was like, we get sirens, we get water, yes, because aquarium. I'm a water person, so I
there you go.
Loved it. The underwater scenes were amazing.
And I also have said this to so many people. This last phase of the MCU was definitely not a great one, but I said that after seeing this specific film, it gave me a better sense of where we were going into the next movies. So this was the one movie that they actually really got 100% right. Everything else outside of Spider-Man was good, but not great.
It's almost like this phase is just kind of like a setup for the next.
Yeah.
Because
So
it's like taking the old into the new.
Okay, so tell me about the Blue People, Gina. Tell me about Avatar.
So I haven't watched the first one since it came out. So I'm like, I don't remember the plot. Was there a plot? I had no idea.
It was
I remember
Pocahontas with
liking
Blue
it.
People.
Yeah. So I rewatched it and I was like, oh, right. This was the plot. Visually, it's great. So I went to see the second one. And again, visually, it is stunning. Again, water person. So it's still too long. It takes almost an hour, if not more, to get to the water parts and like the actual that part of it. So like the movie is really set up in 3 acts almost. So you get them leaving the whole forest and then the water bit and then the ending, which sets up the third movie. As far as the plot, I could care less, to be honest. And I am in the minority there. Most people are like, oh my God, it's so good. I'm like, it's the same villain from the first one. Why should I care about him? Like, yeah. I didn't care about him in the first one. Why should I care about him in the second one? So yeah. I didn't care about the plot, but visually it is stunning.
Did you see it? Did you see it in the IMAX 3D?
Yes.
Apparently they say that's the only way to truly appreciate this film. And if that's the case, then everyone else can go see it. I don't care.
Right. And it's been a very, very long time since I've seen a 3D movie in the theaters. Like, I don't wear my contacts anymore, but I busted them out for this because I'm like, I'm not wearing 3D glasses over my glasses. Like, that's not fun. But it was beautiful. Too long. Right. Don't care for the plot, but beautiful.
Yeah, that also reminds me of the other comic book movie that I did actually watch. I didn't watch it in theaters. I watched it on HBO Max, and that was Black Adam. I was really let down by that movie. I really thought that it was going to be so much more, and what really upset me about not liking it the way I wanted to like it is because there were so many characters that I was excited to actually finally see on the big screen. And it was just a letdown for me, except for Pierce Brosnan. He was definitely the best part of the film. I loved him as Dr. Fate. But
I did not finish it. Like, I wasn't even going to put it on our list, and I saw you had it on there. So I was like, well, I'll throw my name up in here. I think I have 20-30 minutes left of it, and I don't care to finish it. I was
Do yourself
bored.
A favor and
I
don't
could
even
not
bother.
Tell you a point to the plot. I was so excited for that movie. I'm really glad I didn't waste my time and see it in a theater.
It's just really upsetting over the fact that Dwayne Johnson really tried to push that movie. And now the big question is, with that he did a mid-credits scene that got so many people excited, and now it's insignificant because of everything that James Gunn's done since he took over.
Right.
What can I tell you? It's also very, but I will say one thing. I am really shocked that James Gunn actually stood up to The Rock and said bye-bye. Like, I don't want you here anymore. That's kind of crazy. Okay, so I want to ask about one specific movie that you saw, Gina. Stacey, if you've seen it, I would love for you to jump in, because this movie, I have seen trailers for it. I've heard people talk about it. And everyone seems to love it in so many different ways. And I can watch it. I haven't done it. Gina, I wanted to watch it before the show started, but I just didn't have the time. Tell me, please, about The Menu.
Oh, I love it so much. I've seen it twice.
It looks so interesting. What is it? Is it a comedy? Is it a horror? What is it?
But what movie? I didn't hear you.
The Menu.
The Menu. Oh.
It is now on HBO Max.
Yes.
I'm not going to go into details because the trailers don't go into too many details.
That's what I've heard.
I think that helps. I went to go see it in theaters, And once you get to a specific point where it like picks up, it's just like, okay, this is interesting. And then I went to a friend's house last week and we were going to watch a movie. We were scrolling through, you know, the different streaming services. And I went, ooh, The Menu. Have you seen that yet? And he was like, no. I'm like, I'll watch it again. Like, I just saw it in theaters like 2 weeks ago, but I will watch it again. And so we watched it again. And like, it comes out on Tuesday. So I have a bunch of friends at a vintage stock, and I go and visit them every day. I keep looking to see if it's out yet on DVD because I went to buy it. And I have
it's
not
coming
bought
out
a
soon,
movie.
yeah.
It comes out on Tuesday. Today, I went today, and one of them was like, we were talking about it, and the guy I was talking with, he didn't like it. He thinks it could be more in depth and be a little bit more intentional. And like, I see that, but I still really enjoyed it. And he was like, it comes out Tuesday. And I was like, okay, I'll be here Tuesday. Basically, the gist of it is a bunch of snobby rich people pay a crap load of money to go to a fancy island and eat this like famous chef's food, and it's the menu. There's like 5 courses. Each thing has a purpose to it, and it's just the 12 guests and then the chef and his cooks. And it is I really liked it.
I heard Ray Fiennes is unbelievable in that movie.
Yes, it is. Like, I want to watch it again, and I've watched it twice in the last like 6 weeks.
It's one of those movies that literally just popped out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then when it came out, everyone went to see it because so many people were so intrigued by it. Yes. Unfortunately, I cannot do that anymore, at least for another year. But I'm just so interested in it, and I was like really upset because I really wanted to watch it before this show because I have it on HBO Max. Yep. But what can I say? I decided that I wanted to watch Boy Meets World from beginning to end, and that just sucked me in. What can I tell you?
Fair. That is a fair. It is. I loved it. It is very, very interesting. It kind of reminds me of like, not necessarily content wise, but like the feel wise of movies kind of like Ready or Not and like those kind of newer horror movies that it's just like fun, but not necessarily fully horror.
Okay.
Because like I'm pretty sure it's like classified as a thriller, right?
No, as a matter of fact, a lot of people are classifying it as a dark comedy.
Okay, I see
that. Because they say it's very funny.
It is. It has some funny moments. I would classify it as a thriller.
Okay.
It's
like when I go and watch some of my regular people that I watch, and people were talking about like their favorite films of 2022. That one like showed up on almost everybody's list.
It is on mine. Like I said, I have not bought like a physical copy of a movie in a while. Like I just have not liked something enough to go and buy it. I will be going to the mall on Tuesday and buying this.
Awesome. No, trust me, physical media, it's important.
Yes.
Okay. So, Stacey, anything new and exciting from the world of entertainment that you would like to share before we go through the rest of this laundry list?
Nothing new. The only new thing I saw was the Glass Onion movie. Everything else I put down is old.
Okay. Well, I've seen myself some old stuff too.
No, that's a lie. Falling for Christmas. The Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie. Your name is on it.
Oh, that's true. I did see that. I forgot I saw that. I actually liked it.
I did too.
Because I'm like overboard. And it was
it was very overboard feeling.
You know, the whole thing about Lindsay Lohan, she may have had a very controversial life outside of film, but she was never a bad actress, at least in everything that I saw. I always say that her remake of The Parent Trap is so much better than the original with Hayley Mills. It really is. And I don't own this movie, and I know that so many people have watched it so many times, but I know all the references. She was excellent in Mean Girls. I love her in Mean Girls. She's so funny.
Amazing.
There's definitely some Mean Girls references in this Christmas movie, which were fun.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought she did a great job.
I do too.
She never had a bad screen performance. I mean, she may have not had all the greatest of films, but every time she was ever in a movie that I saw, I never had anything bad to say about her.
I'm excited to see what she does next. Like
Yeah.
you
Hope
can
she does
definitely tell
more.
she is on her comeback.
I'd
hope
like for
so.
that to happen.
Right.
I would very much like for that to happen. Now, I saw some, I watched myself some classic films because I wanted to celebrate some anniversaries. And of course, me getting very upset over the fact that some of these movies are as old as they are because it just makes me realize how old I am these days. I watched E.T. and Tron to celebrate their 40th anniversaries. And, you know, it's amazing because I've watched E.T. so many times in my life. And yet, watching it now, there are still some things that I never caught in those other times that I've seen it.
That's fun.
When I watch them now, it's still a beautiful movie. It really is.
We
And-
The
have
first movie I saw in theaters when I was a kid. My
Really?
mom took me to it. Yep.
that's
My
fun.
mom and dad went to go see it, and they dropped me off at my grandparents when they went to see it. And apparently, I was told that I was a little horror that night because I just wanted to be with my parents. But my
Aw.
parents went and got. My parents went. I call it the best film of 1982. I think it really is, and I mean, it was up for Best Picture. It is one of Steven Spielberg's greatest films and one of John Williams' greatest scores. And it's really great. It's a great movie. It really is, and Tron is definitely one of those movies that people hear about, but not enough people have seen. I mean, I'm a big Jeff Bridges fan, so of course it's one of I always enjoy watching him, but I watched that, and then I watched the one from 2010, Tron Legacy, great film, especially because Daft Punk does the soundtrack. And I'm
Yeah.
even watching the short-lived animated series on Disney Plus, Tron Uprising, with a great cast. I mean, the animation is so weird, but it's got a great cast. It's got Elijah Wood. It's got Reginald VelJohnson, the original voice, the original Tron. Bruce Boxleitner's in that show too. Emmanuel Cherokee, Paul Rubens. So Mandy Moore. It's a fun show. Really, really cool. So I've always loved Tron. Always have, because I'm always into that science fiction stuff. You know. Speaking of 80s, I didn't watch the Golden Globes. But apparently, Data from the Goonies won a Golden Globe.
Aw, that's fun. I didn't watch it
Yeah,
either.
yeah. I love the fact that he won, and I actually watched his speech on YouTube. The first thing he did was he thanked Steven Spielberg for giving him the big
Aw.
break in his career. And he says, and then of course he opens up his speech by saying, ever since I did my first movie, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and the crowd went nuts because he mentioned Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I'm like, good for you, buddy. I'm so
That's
happy
fun.
for him. He won for that movie. I'm sure I'm going to butcher the name, like Everything and Anything All at Once.
It's so good. Yeah,
Yeah,
everything,
he
anything,
won.
everywhere, all it. Yeah, that one.
That's awesome. I didn't even know he was in the movie. So
Right. That's fun.
So yeah. So what are some of the other stuff that you watched, Stacey?
I just watched, and I think your wife would really like this. She might have seen it, but it's Dr. Thorne by the same guy who does Downton Abbey.
I don't think she has. I have never heard of that.
Because I know she's a Downton Abbey fan, right?
No, she's not.
She's not?
No.
I could have swore you said that she was at some point, but maybe I'm getting that confused.
I
She
know
doesn't
that
like
she doesn't like what?
I really thought that she watched that. Anyway, it's the same guy who created Downton Abbey. He did Dr. Thorne. It's only 4 parts. It's like a mini series on Amazon, I want to say. It's historical drama. I loved it. If you like Pride and Prejudice, that sort of thing, you would really like this. So I loved it. All like the
That's
visuals,
great.
the outfits, the house, you know.
All right, that sounds great. Now, my wife is more into other kinds of things. I mean, like she's into all the Law and Orders and NCIS and stuff like that. I mean, she likes herself a good period piece. She doesn't really care for biopics, but she does like period pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Gina, I got to ask you another question because I'm really surprised by your star rating based on everything else that I've heard, and I haven't seen this either. Strange World. People are calling that like the worst Disney classic of all time.
It's so cute though. I really liked it. It's weird and quirky, but it's
How is it a
adorable.
classic? Didn't it just come out?
Well, it's part of the Canon Classics collection.
What is
Because
that?
it's, all the Disney classics that started with Snow White in 1938 and just keep moving
Yeah.
forward. So it's part of that grouping of films, which are called the Disney Original Animated Films, aka the Disney Canon Classics. So
Oh,
that's the same grouping as, Cinderella, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Treasure
yeah.
Planet, all that stuff. It's Strange World is number 61.
Interesting.
Yeah, because
I
Encanto
liked
was
it.
number 60.
I
Okay.
watched it New Year's Eve, and it was just it's very colorful. It's very kind of heartwarming. It deals a lot with just like family and how kids aren't the same as their parents, even though their parents want them to be. And it's very I really liked it. It's very good.
Well,
I didn't
I
realize that so many people like weren't liking it until I went to go rate it, and I was like, oh, interesting.
yeah, people hate it,
I
and
don't know why. It is cute.
it made no money in the box office.
Yeah, I did know
None.
that.
But that's also because of the fact that my wife says it best. The marketing for that movie is
It did not
horrendous. Like, it
market
was
it at
nothing.
all.
And
I
what
only heard of it because I saw an ad for it on Facebook the other day. So that's why I was like, wait, isn't that a new movie?
Yeah.
Like, that's not a classic. I just saw it on Facebook.
I mean, and a lot of people didn't like it because of the fact that people said that, it dealt with identity politics and it had your environmental talk in there. I mean, look, the Jetsons movie of 1990 had an environmental message too. And apparently a lot of people hate that movie too, and I don't know why, because I love it. I love the Jetsons movie.
It also, I think, is important to note that it has like the first like actually openly gay character without like hinting that he's gay. Like it's very much, I am a boy, I like this boy, and everyone's cool with it.
Yeah, apparently nobody cared about it. Everybody was like
Right.
saying why. Everybody was basically saying like, "Why are you telling us this? Like, we don't need this."
They didn't really shove it down your throat though. It just happened. It just, hey, I have this crush on this person,
Hey,
kind
look,
of
I
thing.
need to
And it
look.
was well done. I enjoyed it.
Look, I'm gonna see it because I have to. I have to add another episode to Out of the Vault. I have to watch all the Disney Canon classics. I have to. Even though I've seen them all now, and except for Strange World, but I will definitely say that 2022 was definitely a very bad year for Disney, because
Yeah.
when you take a look at all the movies that they made, whether it was Disney Animation or Disney Pixar, all the movies were just okay. That's what, and the part that really is like a lot of people are saying is that if a Disney movie wins Best Animated Feature at the Oscars, it's going to basically be like the worst thing in the world. But what really upsets me a lot is the fact that Strange World basically made no money for Disney in the box office, and yet they didn't put the last three Pixar films in theaters. And the last three, I'm sorry, not the last three, because they did put Lightyear in the movies, and that lost them money. But I'm referring to Soul, Luca, and Turning Red.
Yeah.
Those three movies are really good.
They are.
I don't think I've seen a Disney movie for probably over 10 years.
How come?
I mean, I'm not really into that sort of thing anymore. My kids are older, right? Like my daughter just turned 20. And I remember when Disney started doing a lot of the live action movies instead of just like the cutesy cartoons, she wasn't interested in any of that. She thought all of that was garbage. And so I wasn't interested. Yeah, my daughter was like, what is this, Jungle Book, this live action, like none of the live action stuff she was interested in. And so we just didn't watch any of that stuff. I couldn't tell you the last Disney movie I've seen. I'm from the generation, my favorite movie of all time was Aladdin. So like in the 90s, when we had Aladdin and we had Beauty and the Beast and all that, like that to me is Disney's best era. But after that, I think it was all kind of, eh.
Well, people can agree with you and people can disagree with you. I mean, I think what's very interesting is the fact that after the Disney Renaissance period, which is what you're referring to, which pretty much began with The Little Mermaid and ended with Tarzan, then there was a couple of years where they really weren't making the princess movies, and they were really thinking outside the box and making some very different kinds of movies. And a lot of them seem to have some really big cult followings. I mean, there's a lot of fans of The Emperor's New Groove out there. A lot of people love that movie. I know
I've
that
never
Lilo
seen
and well, that's very interesting because of the fact that that was Disney's first animated take on a buddy comedy. They never did that before.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, who could not be curious about the fact that David Spade was a voice in a Disney movie? Like, David Spade
That's
of all
fun.
people? Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, the best part about that movie is the villains. I mean, Patrick
Yeah.
Warburton and Eartha Kitt as Yzma and Kronk are like the
Poison
best
for
part of the
Gusto.
movie. It's a very funny movie. You get a lot of belly laughs, but and when it comes to Lilo and Stitch, I mean, oh my goodness, kids love Lilo and Stitch.
I hate
Stitch
Lilo
is
and
my
Stitch.
favorite. I got a Stitch steering wheel cover and Stitch floor mats for my car for Christmas.
But in that time frame, I personally adore Atlantis: The Lost Empire and Treasure
Yes.
Planet. I love
are
those
good.
movies.
Because my son really liked those when he was little, so we did watch those. Those were good.
They're really good. They're very different. I appreciate the fact that the lead heroes in those movies are male, because there really weren't
Yeah.
many after that. But
I liked
Yeah.
Cars too. I thought that was cute.
well, yeah, no, I mean, that's a great Pixar. I honestly am not a big fan of Cars. I'm not a big fan of that movie at all. But I can understand why so many people like it. But it's like, so you had the 2000s, and then after Treasure Planet, then you really didn't have such good stuff. You had movies like Brother Bear and Home on the Range. Like, that was like Disney at its lowest. And then Disney came back and did their neo-renaissance when The Princess and the Frog came out. Although, I will definitely say that one of the most underappreciated Disney movies is Bolt. Bolt is
Yeah.
adorable.
Bolt is cute.
Because my daughter
Bolt
was
is-
little and she liked Bolt. Anything
Bolt is
after
very
my
cute.
kids were like 7, I probably haven't seen it.
I would definitely say you should, if anything, you should definitely see both Wreck-It Ralphs. Those are great.
Those are
No, I
good.
did see Wreck-It Ralph, and I hate Wreck-It Ralph.
Really?
Yeah,
I love Wreck-It Ralph.
I want to punch that little. I can't stand Sarah Silverman. Cannot stand her.
Oh,
Her
I can't
voice
stand her as a person. I can't either,
freezes
but
me. I cannot watch her. No, I didn't like Wreck-It Ralph.
have you seen Zootopia?
No.
You should watch that. You would love that. Jason
Well, I
Bateman
don't
is
like those ones.
amazing. No. I would definitely say that Big Hero 6, Zootopia, and Moana, those 3 movies are very good. And
Never saw
even,
them.
and even Ryan the Last Dragon is good. I like that.
Yeah,
movie.
I like that too. A lot of people didn't.
Never heard of it.
And it was also very cute.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I'm just a Disney fan. I've always been a Disney fan. But and in regards to Disney Pixar, I mean, I personally think that Soul is the greatest film that Pixar ever gave us. That's a very
Soul is very good.
that's a
I
very
prefer
adult.
the Bluth films. I was never a big Disney person, but I loved the Don Bluth films. So
I am a big Don Bluth fan myself. I mean, Don Bluth is responsible for one of my favorite Disney classics, and that he's responsible for The First Rescuers. He wrote that.
Mm.
amazing.
The Rescuers is one of my personal. As a matter of fact, the song that I sing to my daughter every night before I put her to sleep is "Tomorrow Is Another Day."
Aw.
I love both the Rescuers, but yeah, like Land Before Time and All Dogs
An
Go to
American
Heaven.
Tale, The
Those are
Secret of
best.
Nim, All
Yes,
Dogs Go to Heaven.
yes, those are the best.
And-
American Tail.
That's a great movie. No, well, honestly, nobody remembers that this is a Don Bluth film, but I have such a soft spot for Titan AE. I love Titan AE.
Yeah,
That's
Oh,
a great movie. I love that movie.
yeah, I miss
Uh,
those movies. I'm very nostalgic when it comes to like cartoons and stuff. So like
you
new
know-
cartoons, I'm like,
It's just because of the fact that there are not that, because there was a time when, well, the truth of the matter is animation has never been something that has only been just for kids.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
appreciate the animation companies that try to make it feel like it's just for kids. It's like it's why I will never see the Ice Age films. They look so stupid to me. But I love
I like
the
them
Peanuts
too.
movie. I love the Peanuts movie. I think that's
liked
an
the
adorable
Peanuts movie.
film.
That was cute. That was
That was
really
a
cute.
wonderful film.
Yeah.
Wonderful movie. But no, I'm still a Disney fan at heart. And honestly, when it comes to going to theaters these days, it's like I either want to see the new comic book film or I want to go see the new Disney film / Pixar film, you know? So, and I'm just really excited to finally get to the time where I'll be able to take my daughter to go see these kinds of movies in theaters. You know, like I'm never going to be able to be that person that saw 50 films in a theater every single year. Like I'm never going to be that guy again. I can't. It's impossible. But what I really appreciated was after we walked out of Black Panther, and the only reason why we saw Black Panther was because of the fact that my wife was off for the week because it was in between Christmas and New Year's. And I took that week off because my wife was off and my daughter was going to daycare. So we had a day where we went to the movies. And so my wife is off entirely on President's Day weekend. She goes, when does Ant-Man Quantumania come out? I said, I think it comes out on President's Week. She goes, okay, well, we're dropping the daughter off at daycare. We're going to see Ant-Man. I was
Nice.
like, okay, that's good. I'll go see it. Okay, another interesting film I have to ask you about, Gina, because you didn't rate it, so now I'm even more curious. Because I heard about what a lot of people are talking about. Bros?
Hold on, what did I rate it? I think I rated it low. It was a thing. I started watching it because I was like, why? Because I remembered wanting to watch it. And then I was like, why did I want to watch this? Like there was someone in it and I could not remember. And then it was, okay, I gave it 3.5 stars.
Okay.
Hold on. What's his name? Luke McFarlane.
Okay.
He is a Hallmark guy. And so that's why I wanted to do it. So my review is, I think one of my favorite things about this is the fake Hallmark movie stuff because Luke McFarlane is a Hallmark guy. So that was really fun for me. The rest of it was just kind of there. I honestly could not tell you a thing that happens in that movie. I don't remember it. But...
Yeah, because apparently Billy Eichner has been pitching a hissy fit about the fact that no one went to go see his movie. And it was like a landmark movie because it was the first romantic comedy to feature an openly gay couple. I'm like, okay, you do you, whatever. You know, like,
I mean, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was okay. I guess I liked it enough. I gave it 3.5 stars.
Yeah.
I think that's because I really like Luke
what
McFarlane.
movies are coming out. Like, where do you find this out? Because since I don't have regular TV and I don't have commercials with trailers, like I never know what movies are in theaters.
Honestly, the best way to do it is scour the internet. Go to all the big. That's what I do. That's how I find out.
So that's how I know.
That's how I find out about the latest comic books. That's how I find out about some of my favorite bands growing up. That's when I find out about when their new albums are coming out because you don't hear those bands on the radio anymore.
Right. I don't listen to the radio anymore. So like my new music is very limited.
Oh, I have no choice now. I have to listen to terrestrial radio now in my new car because I don't have a CD player in my new car. And I don't have a Sirius XM hookup or any satellite radio hookup on my car because it's actually a hand-me-down. I got rid of my two-door 2012 Honda Civic just the other day. I sold it, and trust me, I'm glad to have a four-door car again because 2 doors and a car seat, not fun. So unfortunately, it was my mother's old car. My dad leased this car for 3 years, and now I have it. So it's a 2020 Honda Civic with less than 25,000 miles on it. So yay,
nice.
But no satellite radio hookups. So, and if there's no CD player in there, which I think is the stupidest thing, I hate the fact that all cars these days have no CD players. Okay, people still buy CDs. People still listen to CDs. Okay, I still buy CDs. I just bought the entire 4-piece EP set of the newest songs from Weezer, because I'm a big Weezer fan, but whatever. It's just like, I hate the fact that there's no CD players in cars anymore. So I have no choice but to listen to terrestrial radio.
Yeah, that sucks.
Well, can you just listen to it on your phone, like on Pandora or whatever?
I don't have Pandora. How much did that cost you?
I don't have it, so I don't know.
Spotify without ads is $10 a month.
I don't want to spend $10 a month. I'd rather put my $10 towards something else. like baby
See, I
food
kept
or
looking at it like I
diapers.
kept buying so many CDs that I was spending more than $10 a month on new CDs. So I've cut back my CD buying and I put that towards Spotify.
Oh,
But they
I'm
also have the
still,
free option, but it's not as good because you can't control which songs you listen to.
all right. Well, as of now, I know that there's 3 new CDs coming out in the beginning of 2023 that I am very excited to get. I'm getting the new Paramore album, I'm getting the new Baby Metal album, and I'm getting the new Smashing Pumpkins album. I'm excited for all 3.
I didn't know Smashing Pumpkins was coming out with new music. That's exciting.
Okay, I'll tell you something. I went to go see Iron Maiden back in October with my brother-in-law, and one of my very, very good friends was supposed to come with us. And at the 0 hour, he said, "I can't come." He didn't buy a ticket, so nobody lost any money. And he said, "The reason why I can't come with you is because I got a call last night from a very good friend of mine who got me box seats to the Smashing Pumpkins concert at MSG." So I was like, "Okay, you go, have fun." I've never seen the Smashing Pumpkins. I've never seen the Smashing Pumpkins in concert. They're one of the bands I want to see in concert because I'm a huge fan of theirs.
I feel
I've
like I've
never
seen
seen
them,
them in
but I'm not
concert.
sure.
But no, they're awesome.
Yeah.
I've been a fan. I've been a fan of Smashing Pumpkins ever since I was in middle school. Always been a fan
I
of
used
theirs.
to go to the 9:30 Club all the time when they owned it.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice. That's awesome.
when I was
Now
like
this-
19 and 20.
Yeah, I think the only other album that I'm excited about that's coming out that I know about is the new Blink-182 album. And the reason why I'm really excited about it is because it is Mark's first album since he's been in remission from his cancer. And Tom joined the band again. He left.
Yeah.
For a little while. Tom is back. So Mark, Tom, and Travis, the original, Enema of the State, they're back together again. So I'm very excited that the original infamous lineup that everybody knows is back, and I'm really looking forward to their new music. I actually got the Enema of the State 3-piece Funko Pop set of them. So it's all 3 of them, and yes, they are naked. So that's actually kind of funny.
That's fun. That's fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, Funko Pops really surprised me this past year because I ended up buying so many Funko Pops, like so many. My collection is now officially past 400.
I bought this the last time we recorded.
Oh, awesome.
I love it.
Did you get the Hybrid Theory one?
I bought it. It hasn't come yet. So I guess it's still on back order.
Yeah, I have two of those. I have 2 of those albums. I have Power Slave by Iron Maiden, and I actually got the She's So Unusual Cyndi Lauper because I love Cyndi Lauper.
That's fun.
Yeah, I had to.
I had forgot that I bought that. I put it in my mom's room to like wrap for Christmas. And then she was like, "Hey, do you want me to wrap that Linkin Park thing for you?" And I went, "What Linkin Park thing?" And she goes, "The Funko thing?" I go, "You should have just did it because I forgot I bought that."
Now they did their thing called Pop-A-Palooza back in November, which was basically revealing all of their Funko Pop stuff that's related to music. And I was like, had no idea that they were doing another one of them. So I got myself a Robert Smith of The Cure because I love The Cure.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's coming in the mail this Monday. I got the 4-pack of Pantera. I'm really excited about that.
That's fun.
I love Pantera. I can't wait to get that. But the funny thing is, I completely forgot the reason why we were talking about all the animated films, because I was trying to say that it would be really upsetting if Disney wins the Academy Award for Best Animated Film, because as far as I'm concerned, the best animated film of 2022 was Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
It was pretty good.
That was amazing. I highly recommend it, Stacey. It's on Netflix.
I saw the ad for that on Netflix.
It was nice seeing a stop motion again.
Yes. I mean, there are still animation studios that do the stop motions.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
Leica makes good ones. Okay, the last stop motion animated film that I saw that I loved was Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs.
I was just gonna say Isle of Dogs, I think, is the last one.
That's an amazing movie.
Yep. I have that one on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I actually found there was a movie that I wanted to see in theaters that I didn't get the chance to, but it was on Netflix. I watched DreamWorks The Bad Guys. I liked that.
Yeah, I was gonna watch that
Cute.
before today, but I didn't get to it.
That was really, really cute. And I like what DreamWorks is doing with their animation style because even though it is 3D, it still looks a little classic
Mhm.
cell 2D animation. I can say the same thing for some of the things I saw in the trailers for that new Puss in Boots movie, which apparently is really good.
So I've heard.
Yeah, some people are calling it one of the best animated movies of the year.
That's fun.
I have seen
Yeah.
the Shrek movies.
I love
Good.
the Shrek movies.
They're
Puss
good.
in Boots the Puss in Boots movie is really cute too.
I do like Antonio Banderas a lot. I'm a fan.
Yeah, a lot of people, because that was the thing. It was either going to be Black Panther Wakanda Forever or Puss in Boots The Last Wish. That was going to be one of the two movies that my wife and I were going to go see in theaters. And we chose the Marvel movie because it's the Marvel movie, you know?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, because of the fact that Cammie's not here tonight, I really was curious to know about her
Fablemans?
thoughts on the Fablemans. Yeah.
I watched it. So you
Good.
printed you printed the sheet before I added it. I saw that she put it on there, so I watched it last night.
I have not seen it yet, and I heard it wasn't good. But
I liked
apparently
it.
it is good.
I liked it. It's very interesting. It's another one of the movies that my friend at the V Stock was like, "Have you seen The Fablemans yet?" And I was like, "No, but my friend's seeing it today." And then like, weeks have gone past and he's like, "How did your friends like The Fablemans?" I was like, "I forgot to watch it." So like we were talking about it today, and it's very, I like how he did it. And like we were kind of talking, it's kind of reminiscent of like the feeling of Licorice Pizza from
Okay.
what was that, last year?
Yeah, which I didn't
and it-
see.
yeah, which was also good, weird but good. It's interesting. I like how he did it. I like the trauma aspects of seeing that first film and then like the obsession with making films. And it was fun.
That's good. No, I mean, again, like, I was hearing mixed things, but
Mhm.
apparently it won so many Golden Globes, so maybe I'm missing something. Where did you see it, by the way?
I rented it video early on demand, so it was
Okay.
expensive to rent, but I saw that Cammie had it on there and I wanted to be able to talk about it with her.
Oh, that
So
stinks.
I rented it.
Well, you really were busy. You saw a ton of stuff, Gina. I'm like, you really are like what I used to be, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, the
I
very
mean-
few days I had free, I just vegged and just watched movies. Like I didn't even put everything I watched on the list because like I watched Smile, not good. I
Oh wow, you
watched,
saw that?
Yeah.
I saw trailers for that.
I was excited for it, and then it was not good. I did
I
not
mean,
like it.
I'm just looking down. I'm just looking at this laundry list. I mean, I don't even know what half of these things are. Like, I never heard of Spirited. What in God's name is that?
That is the Apple Plus Christmas musical with Will Ferrell and what's his face?
Ryan Reynolds?
Yes.
Oh, that's what it is. I couldn't put
That-
two and
yeah.
two together.
It is. I enjoyed it when I first watched it, but the more I think of it, the more I don't like it. I think it's a little too long, but I enjoyed it.
That's good. So, Stacey, it's been a while since you've been on the show. I wanted to ask you, because I know that you're really into it, how was your Halloween this past year?
It was freaking awesome. We
Awesome.
probably had 50, 60 people as usual.
Really?
Nice.
A
Wow.
lot of people. And my husband and I, we were from the Mummy movies. I was Evie and he was
Rick?
Rick. Yes, I was Evie and he was Rick from the Mummy. So that was fun.
That's one of those movies that if it's on, my wife is watching it. She loves those movies. Speaking of Brendan Fraser, I haven't seen it, but I heard he's amazing in this brand new movie, The Whale, with Sadie Sink
Yeah,
from
I haven't
Stranger
seen it
Things.
yet.
I mean,
Yeah.
I heard that people say he could get an Oscar nod, and I would
Yeah.
love to see him get an
I
Oscar
hope
nod.
so. Yeah, it
That
was
would be
because
great.
of that. It was because I was seeing him all over the place. I was like, oh, I really want to rewatch The Mummy. And so we rewatched The Mummy and I was like, that's what we're going to be for Halloween. And I got my husband is bald. He shaves his head bald. And I got him to wear a Brandon Fraser wig. Actually, it was
Nice.
a Han Solo wig, but it looks like Brandon Fraser's hair in The Mummy. But yeah, it was pretty awesome.
because
that.
one of the few things that I gotta say was the biggest surprise from Halloween, and it's been a very, very long time since I have been truly like loving it. Apparently, this year's Simpsons Treehouse of Horror was amazing.
I didn't. I used to
I
love it,
I watched one piece of it
Bit of it,
because
yeah.
they spoofed an anime called Death Note. So
It
the
was so
Simpsons were
good.
animated in anime style. It was so weird, but it was beautifully done.
It was
Oh,
fun,
okay.
I was shocked that they actually had the budget for that.
right?
But it was so interesting, and it got a lot like all of a sudden, like it was the day after Halloween, and all of a sudden I'm seeing these anime versions of The Simpsons like all over the internet. I'm like, what is this? And everybody's saying this is the new Treehouse of Horror segment. And I was like, you're kidding. I actually managed to watch it before someone took it off the
Took
internet.
it down,
And I was
yeah, same.
shocked by how good it was.
Wow.
It's been a while since they've had a really good Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah.
I'm still watching. I'm still rewatching the series. I'm up to season 10 now.
Nice.
Wow.
I love watching the old Simpsons episodes. I really do. And speaking of holiday stuff, I actually loved the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
I haven't watched it yet. It's on my list.
I haven't seen it or heard of it.
Okay, it's a 45-minute long special of the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's on Disney Plus. It is like if you enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy and you know that sense of humor, then you're gonna love this 45-minute holiday special. I'm just gonna give you 2 words, and it gave me incentive to actually see it, and I'm glad that I did. Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Like I said,
Kevin
it's on my
Bacon.
list. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Kevin Bacon. Now, it was so. My wife and I watched it. We loved it. We really, really loved it. Something else that I'm seeing here, Gina, I'm really impressed that you saw this because I still remember this case. You saw, was this a documentary about Casey Anthony that you watched?
Yes, so it's a 3-part doc on Peacock, I think. Yeah, because I thought it was on Paramount because I have access to Paramount and I was excited, and then it was like, it's on Peacock. So it's like, But then Peacock had a sale. It was like, get a year for $1 a month. So I was like, fine. So now I have Peacock for a year. But I was obsessed with that case when it was happening. Like I watched
still remember
the
that
entire
case.
trial. I have multiple of the books that the lawyers have written, and it was the documentary was very interesting because it is definitely more in favor of Casey's story. And it's her first TV interview it's her first interview in general since the case. And it was definitely interesting to see how she's going about things and like what she's saying, like did or did not happen. It's like, okay, then why didn't you say this back then? Like, I don't know how much I believe her. Hopefully what she says is true and she's been getting help and therapy and all this stuff, but it was such a bizarre case that like no one really knows. But like they definitely gear towards the, hey, this is actually what happened kind of bit to it. It was interesting.
I'm hoping that neither of you guys actually watched that Harry and Meghan thing on Netflix, did you?
Nope.
Good.
No.
Good. I didn't want to talk about it anyway. But Netflix, I gotta say, it's so funny because they're always talking about how Netflix is in trouble and Netflix is in trouble and Netflix is in trouble, but yet there seems to be a lot of stuff that they're putting out there. I mean, unfortunately, I watched something that I thought was really cute, and then I found out that it got canceled. I watched that show Blockbuster.
Yeah.
It was cute. I mean, I wanted to watch it because of the fact that I love Melissa Fumero because I was a big Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan, and I know that it was the producers of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But it had some good moments, but it really wasn't great. But I still haven't watched this. I know that, Gina, you also watched Wednesday, and a lot of people and their mothers have watched Wednesday.
It's so good. I watched it.
People really like it.
Like 2 days, I think. it's a little slow to start, but it picks up a lot in the later episodes.
I mean, it got
Which-
renewed.
Yeah, that is exciting because it ended to where it's like it would be okay if it didn't get renewed, but they definitely left it open for more.
I mean, at this point in time, I'm anticipating canceling my Netflix subscription once Stranger Things is over.
Fair.
But I mean, I still don't understand why they haven't put season 3 on DVD or Blu-ray yet, because that'll
Yeah, it's
probably be
weird.
that'll probably end up being the only reason why I keep Netflix, just so I can rewatch Stranger Things, because I'm excited to see how that show comes to an end, because that
Yeah.
last season was just unbelievably great.
Yeah.
It was.
Really, really was. People are still pining over Eddie. It's kind of funny. After
Mhm.
all these months, people still are talking about him. People are
One
still
of-
wearing his shirt and singing Master of Puppets. It's great.
One of my
Speaking of
coworkers
Eddie,
got
sorry.
one of my
No,
coworkers
say-
got the bat tattoo on her arm, like his
Oh, God,
bats.
really? The
Yeah.
demon
Oh.
bat?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
she is
Yeah, so-
obsessed with Eddie. It's fun.
Yeah, speaking of Eddie, I also watched a show called Dickensian. It's on Amazon, and it's a historical show, but it's a mystery. And it's all about Charles Dickens characters from all of his different books, but they're
Ooh,
all within the same show, and they all interact with each other.
that's
So it's
fun.
fascinating idea. And Scrooge gets murdered in the first episode. So it's like
Oh.
a murder mystery. There's a detective
cool.
trying to figure out who killed Scrooge. But the guy who plays Eddie is in that show.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
it's really interesting to watch him play this like historical character who was
That's
kind of a big,
fun.
he was like wimpy and like nervous. He was so the opposite of like rock star Eddie. It was so weird. He did really good
Okay.
though.
That's fun.
Um,
I just remembered another Netflix thing that I watched that I didn't put on the list. Alice in
Okay.
Borderland season 2. I don't know if either of you watched season 1.
I don't even know what that show is.
It is a Japanese show, and it is very similar to oh, I'm blanking, the Korean drama that was really popular last
Squid
year.
Game?
Yes, it is similar to that. I watched it before Squid Game, and it is essentially like these guys kind of go into this like alternate universe almost, and there's these games, and they're all death games essentially. And
Ah.
season 2 came out. I watched it in a day. It is
Huh.
very intense. If you don't do body horror, don't do it. But
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
it is. I love it. And
I'm
then like
going.
the one character that I really love, it keeps popping up like other things that he's in. I'm just like, I need to find these.
I'm going to be revisiting Netflix very soon, because I am going to be one of those people next week that watches That 90s Show. I am
Yeah.
very excited to watch it.
The trailer
I
looks
mean,
fun.
I got to be honest with you. They got Mary Jo Rupp and Kurtwood Smith back after all these years. And yes, you're going to see everybody from the original cast except for Danny Masterson. So why not give it a shot, you know?
I did a Kitty Foreman costume in October also. I dressed up like Kitty
Nice.
Foreman. Yeah.
Okay, but the question is, it's one thing to dress like her. Can you laugh like her?
No, but I was drinking alcohol out of a measuring cup.
I love it.
With a straw. I'll
That's
send you a
awesome.
picture.
Yeah, I'm planning to watch that, and I'm actually DVRing. It's actually going to be airing next week. I am actually going to I'm actually going to watch Night Court. They're bringing that back, but in more of a continuation and not a remake.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's only because of the fact that, first of all, the fact that they got John Larroquette back, that's great. They got him back
I
to the
like
show.
Yeah.
But I'm a big Melissa Rauch fan because I love The Big Bang Theory.
Mhm.
And I want to see her as a different character outside of Bernadette.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that she is going to be playing Harry's, the original judge, his daughter. And it's going to be a really nice tribute to him, because unfortunately the actor died a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago. It was really sad. But
Oh, I didn't know about it.
yeah, he passed away, and I didn't watch the show when it aired, but when I was in college and I was working as an RSR kid, I was basically a kid that like manned the booths, and making sure about people giving us their IDs that they were going to go visit people in the dormitories. If I was working at the booth between noon and 1, I was watching A&E Daybreaks. It was basically an hour. It was Night Court followed by News Radio. So that's how I watched all of Night Court and all of News Radio.
Fun.
And
That was a
before
good
that,
show.
and
I watched it when I
yeah,
was little.
and the other show that I watched along with those two, when I was doing those kinds of jobs, I also watched all of Wings. So I watched
I
some
love
really,
Wings.
really great shows.
Wings was fun.
And Ned and Stacey, that was a great show.
Yeah, it was.
There was some really great comedies in the 90s. I was really, and 80s, and I was really glad I got a chance to watch them all.
Yeah.
So another holiday thing. Gina, unless this is a mistype, Till Death Do Us Blart, my favorite Thanksgiving tradition. Is that Paul Blart?
Yeah.
I didn't even know this was a thing. What did they get Kevin James back for it?
So what it is the McElroy brothers, who do podcasts such as My Brother and Me and The Adventure Zone, get together every Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving. That is an important note, not Canadian Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, with the New Zealand boys from the Worst of Idea of All Time podcast, where their most popular one is they watched Sex and the City 2 every week for a year. So it is that kind of idea where it is a once yearly podcast. On American Thanksgiving, it comes out where the five of them watch Till Death, or that's the name of the podcast, Till Death Do Us Blart, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, specifically the second one. And every year they do something different. So like one year, one of them watched the first one instead of the second one, but didn't tell the others that they were doing that. And then one year, one of them watched the second one, then watched the first one. This year they had one of their interns or like a friend or whoever email one of them and be like, hey, this year you're gonna watch Here Comes the Boom instead, and we're gonna have a murder mystery kind of like in the podcast to try to determine who did not watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. And it is just it is my favorite. They've been going however long Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 has been out, so I think 8 years. That was this year. 8 or 9
crazy.
years. But every Thanksgiving morning I wake up and listen to that podcast before I get out of bed.
You know, I got to be honest with you. I will never forget the fact that Paul Blart was a movie that so many people talked about because it literally was the little movie that no one thought ever could, and it did. Like, that movie came out like during the holiday season, and so many people went to see it and made so much money. I never saw it, but
the first one's okay. The second one sucks, and I forced myself to watch it every year with them. I didn't do it this year because I just did not have time. But it is something.
I'm not much of a podcast listener, but I got to admit there are two podcasts that I'm listening to, and I didn't even know they came out. I mean, I'm so glad that people who make their podcasts will eventually post them onto YouTube. I mean, it's sad to say that it's been almost a year since we lost Bob Saget, or we might have actually already passed that anniversary. I had no idea he made a podcast before he passed away.
I think I did. I haven't listened.
He had like 50 episodes under his belt before his untimely death, and it was called Bob Saget's Here for You. I never knew this, and I watched a few of those episodes. It was so nice. It was so charming, and apparently this past summer, Pod Meets World came out. It's Will Friedle, Ryder Strong, and Danielle Fishel doing a podcast.
I'm in the middle of season 1 of it, so like I'm not caught up yet.
I've only watched the first 3. I've watched the first 3 because they're on YouTube now, and I still cannot get over the fact that it only took them 3 episodes to actually get William Daniels onto the show for that. I thought that was amazing.
Good. I'm on episode 111 of the podcast, so
I can't get over the fact.
Episode 11.
I just cannot get over the fact that Mr. Feeney is 95 years old and still happily married to his wife. I love that.
Yeah, I had no idea they were married.
I am blown away by I always appreciate the fact that, you know, getting old could go in the worst direction possible if you're not too careful. But the fact that I always appreciate that if someone is still living wise beyond their years, and they may not be as, you know, physically strong as they used to be, like if they're in walkers or something like that, the most important thing is as long as your mind is there. Mm-hmm. If you haven't lost your mind due to horrible things like Alzheimer's or something like that, or Parkinson's, you know, it's just so nice to see when people who have gotten to that stage in their lives are still as sharp as a tack. And William Daniels, oh my God, it looks like he hasn't lost a step, and I'm so grateful for that, because he truly is one of popular culture's absolute treasures.
Mm-hmm. And it's
Still
very
shocked they
interesting
never made a
all
Funko
the
Pop out of him. I
right?
still hate the fact that they only made Corey and Topanga. I don't know why they never made a Funko Pop out of Mr. Feeney or Sean or Eric. I don't understand.
Right.
Hell, I wish they would have made one out of Morgan.
Yeah.
But so I had no intentions to talk about this, but I kind of want to because it's literally staring at me right now in my room. I want to show you guys this. So
yes.
you know what this is, Tina?
Yes.
Really?
I do.
Okay, so when we went to my in-laws for Thanksgiving, this was the first time that my wife's brother, she really doesn't get along with him, but he and his girlfriend were there, and they basically had like a boatload of gifts for my daughter, because this was the first time that he was actually meeting his niece, and we were very glad that he did. And this was one of the things that they gave her.
Oh
Apparently, you turn it on and it could either play music or you speak to it and it speaks back to you in a very, very weird voice. So my daughter, I put it in front of her. She loves to scream at it because she kind of loves it when it talks back to her.
That's adorable.
Like I'll show you. Like I'll just turn it on. I'll do this for everybody on YouTube right now. It's like, hello? It lights up.
So funny.
And it talks to you. And my daughter thinks my daughter was a little bit weirded out by it. And at one point she was scared of it because my wife and I were having so much fun with it. We both were laughing till we cried. And because of the fact that we both had tears coming out of our eyes, my daughter was like, "What's wrong with mommy and daddy? Why are they crying? I don't like this thing."
Oh, that's great. We've talked about getting one of those and bringing them into the aquarium.
No, it's like I got to admit, like my daughter is fearless. Like she likes it a lot. I mean, she has some adorable things. Although I will say the one thing I don't like about children's toys these days is that everything has an on and off switch. Like nobody believes in just a plain old stuffed animal anymore. You know, everything is battery operated.
Well,
it's crazy.
Even build a bear, like you can't buy a bear online without it like wanting to force you to put a sound bite in it. And I'm like, I don't want that. Like the exclusive bears, like they have like online exclusive like Animal Crossing bears and like the KK Slider, you cannot buy it online without getting his music pack in it. And I'm like, I don't want that.
I don't need those things. And by the way, Stacy, I never got a chance to tell you, we're now using the little shower gift you gave us.
Oh yeah?
Oh my goodness, she loves it. We actually named him what he's called on the product. We call him Mr. Yuki-Do, and my daughter loves it. It's really convenient. It's making bath time so much easier.
Nice.
Yeah. And I had read her the Baby Einstein books a couple of times. I still think that, unfortunately, I'm waiting for her to start to get to understand things like colors and stuff like that, because then she'll definitely appreciate the books. But I read them to her a couple of times. They're really, really cute. But yeah, so my daughter loves that little cactus. And I think what's also really funny is sometimes when it's actually in her presence, she won't be as loud, because I think she knows that it talks back to her. So maybe it's sort of like she kind of doesn't. But this one thing that we got for her, which is really, really cute, we got her this little Fisher-Price gaming remote. So like it looks like a little gaming pad. Like you press the buttons, it makes sounds. You press the levers or the D-pad, it sings songs to you. But we found out something really funny about it on a Reddit. If you put the Konami code, the old Konami code, into the little device, it actually does a little Easter egg for adults, which is actually really, really cute.
Yeah, one of my friends a few years ago, whenever they had their first kid, got one of those controllers and was talking about it. It's really fun.
Yeah, I also was really cute because when I introduced it to my daughter, we gave it to her for the holiday, and she didn't really have the strength yet to press buttons. So because she was touching the buttons and nothing was happening, she was just like, take it away
Didn't
from me. I
care.
don't want it anymore. But now she's really no, but now she actually has a much stronger, she's developed her pincer grip now, which is really
Aw.
great. So she's feeding herself now, and she apparently was lying to us about knowing how to hold a bottle. So yeah, apparently daycare told us she holds her bottle now by herself. And so I'm looking at her and I'm like, really? You're lying to me now, aren't you? And now it's basically like when I give her a bottle, she's like, mine, give. Yeah, I wish that we didn't have to record late that night because I don't think Stacy's ever met her.
I don't think so.
I mean, I know Gina's had an opportunity to meet her.
Yeah.
There was a point in time when I was on paternity leave and I was actually telling all the people that I know on YouTube or Facebook, it's like, if you have some free time and you want to FaceTime, I'd like you to meet the little one. So some people got lucky, some people didn't, because sometimes they would get in contact with me and she'd be napping.
Aw.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I think we pretty much knocked everything out. There was only one thing that I actually wanted to talk about, but I don't really know if anyone in this room would really show interest in it. So I don't know if I should talk about it or not.
I do have one more thing. I watched the Banshees of Inisherin this morning.
The Colin Farrell movie.
Yes. I really liked it. It is strange. It is heartbreaking. There is an animal death that I'm glad I spoiled myself on by reading reviews because I was not expecting it. But it was fun, and I think it's going to be even better on a second watch.
That's
to
good.
Kind of like pick up on stuff better.
There were also two other things, by the way. So you Meet Cute. That's a book, right?
Yeah, but I don't think the movie is based on the book. So the Meet Cute that I watched is on Peacock again, I think. Peacock or Paramount, I get them confused, but it is the Kaylee Cuoco and Pete Davidson movie.
Oh, cool.
It is weird. It is a Groundhog Day style story, and it starts off real cute and fun and Groundhog's Day-ish, where she's reliving the same 6 hours, and then it just gets messed up and strange and odd and
weird.
Weird, very weird. Very weird.
And yet you have the urge to watch it again. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Right?
I'm
Right?
kidding. Also, I also saw something else on the list. I definitely think that my wife and I are gonna watch it if it's still on Netflix. The Matilda musical movie. That looks great.
It's so good. It did the stage show proud. They cut out her brother, which cut out one of my favorite songs. There's a song where her brother and her dad sing about how books are stupid and all I learned from Telly. It is a very fun song. I recommend looking it up on YouTube if you can. So unfortunately that song got cut out, but everything else is there from the stage show, and it is very fun.
I still love the original movie with Meryl Wilson, though. That's a great movie.
Yeah, that's what, because like I saw the stage show 5 years ago, maybe. It is one of like 3 shows where I wanted to give a standing ovation in the middle of the show. Like that is how good that show is, and the movie did it justice. Like a lot of times stage shows to movies don't do very good, just because they try to change too much and like make it more movie, less stage. But they did. This one was really good.
Yeah, the only other thing that I wanted to talk about, it's a comic. I'm not going to deny that I love to talk about comics. Everybody knows that. I mean, I have a whole channel called That's Comical, which I'm actually getting together with the crew tomorrow to discuss the best of 2022. But there's a specific comic that I've been reading lately that I am just obsessed over. And it's not just the story within the comic, but it's the story about the comic and how it got made and everything, because the character is a character called Miracle Man. It's a typical superhero character, cosmic powers, super strength, whatnot, but the story itself is a very dark and very mature deconstructing of a superhero. And the reason why I started reading it was because a new series was being made from Miracle Man starting last fall, and it was being written by Neil Gaiman. But there was a little more to the story that I didn't even know. So I knew about Miracle Man for a while because I also knew that he was linked to another famous comic book writer, and his name is Alan Moore. People know Alan Moore's name because of things like The Watchmen and V for Vendetta and From Hell and all that stuff, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen even. He wrote all that stuff. So here's the story behind this. He basically created this. He didn't even create the superhero either. So Miracle Man goes all the way back to the 1950s. He's a British comic book character that was created back then because the original writer of the book, Mick Anglo, started writing it because one of the comic books that England was getting from the United States was Captain Marvel, but we all know him now as Shazam. And then the United States stopped allowing reprints of those comics in the United Kingdom. So Mick Anglo wanted to create his own superhero, and he made a character called Marvel Man, who would eventually end up being called Miracle Man due to Marvel Comics and lawsuits and whatnot. But anyway, that's not the point. So he wrote this character in the United Kingdom for a few decades, like from the 1950s into like the late 1960s, I think it was. And so he discovered Alan Moore, because this is actually before Watchmen was even written in 1986. So we're talking about 1982. So the original writer, Mick Anglo, goes to Alan Moore and says, I'd love for you to use my character and make a new story. So there was this comic book coming out in the UK called The Warrior, and Alan Moore created a series of serials called Miracle Man, based on Marvel Man, which was then called Miracle Man then. And basically, he wrote 16 stories. And people really loved it. It really caught on. And then a small independent comic company called Eclipse took all of those shorts that he put in this original book called The Warrior and made a Miracle Man comic book. So the first 16 issues of the Miracle Man comic book were all of Alan Moore's stories. So he stops after that. He basically also labeled them like book 1, book 2, book 3. So then we got to book 4. The story was very popular. It really got a buzz, and people wanted more. But Alan Moore did not want to write it again. So he basically went to Neil Gaiman and said to Neil Gaiman, you're the only person who I feel trustworthy enough to take on this Miracle Man character. And now we're talking about the mid-'80s right now, where Alan Moore is now one of the most well-known writers, and Neil Gaiman is up and coming. So Neil Gaiman takes over from Alan Moore and goes to Eclipse Comics and starts writing with issue 17, and he creates book 4, The Golden Age, 6 issues. And then he had a whole plan. Neil Gaiman was going to make 3 6-issue stories of Miracle Man, the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Dark Age. So he starts writing the Silver Age. He writes Miracle Man issue number 23, and then he writes Miracle Man issue number 24. Eclipse goes bankrupt and the story stops. So we're left on a cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to a whole bunch of people buying the property, so on and so forth, until Marvel Comics actually gets Miracle Man in the late 1990s, early 2000s, I think it was. So what does Marvel do? In 2014, they reissue the entirety of Alan Moore's novels. So they basically remastered them. And then in 2015, they did a 6-issue of Neil Gaiman's The Golden Age, but they didn't do anything with the 2 issues that he wrote in the Silver Age. this past October, Marvel Comics officially told Neil Gaiman, we want you to finish your story.
Nice.
So we're talking about a story that has not been finished for almost 3 decades.
Right.
And just this past month, in December, we got Miracle Man, The Silver Age, issue number 3.
Nice.
Brand new, never seen by anybody. So I started with The Silver Age because I love Neil Gaiman. I do. And I read the first 2 issues of The Silver Age. And I was like, holy God, this book is good. So I hunted down the Golden Age, and I was able to find the remasters of Alan Moore's work. And I read it from book 1. And I'm really surprised by how little money I spent on that to get all these books. So I read the Alan Moore stories, books 1 through 3, and it's amazing. It's so deep. It's so thought-provoking. It's unlike anything I've ever read in my life. I'm not kidding. And then I read The Golden Age, which was very different, but still great. And now I'm just excited for Miracle Man, The Silver Age, issue number 4 by Neil Gaiman, which is coming out in the beginning of February. I'm just excited for issues 4 through 6, and I'm hoping that Marvel Comics is going to let Neil Gaiman finish his story, because I'd love to see how this story ends. The fact that we have all, even though I'm still very much new to this character, even though I've known about this character for many years, I just feel so happy for people who have read this since the 80s are like, wow, we're finally getting this rest of this story. This is amazing to me. The whole story about how they have all the hoops they had to jump through, especially for such a well-known name like Neil Gaiman to finally get the opportunity to finish a story that he wrote back in the late 1980s, early 1990s. That's crazy.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting, this story. It's a very mature story. It's not for kids. And I like I said, I feel happy for all the Miracle Man fans out there that have been waiting for this for all these years. And I still classify myself as a newbie, but I've always known who Alan Moore was, and I love Alan Moore, and I love Neil Gaiman, I love their writing. They're amazing writers. And I haven't read enough of Neil Gaiman's comics because I know he wrote Sandman in the late 80s, early 90s. And the Sandman series on Netflix was brilliant. And
I still need to watch that.
Oh my God, it's good. But I am going to tell you one thing. Don't binge it.
Okay.
And the only reason why I say don't binge it is because you can't. Because you have to you literally have to let each episode sink in, because each episode is like a 3-hour movie all its own. Like they're not 3-hour episodes, but they feel big. They feel grand. Yeah, his Sandman universe. I know my buddy Andy is such a fan of the Neil Gaiman Sandman, and I've read a lot of other Neil Gaiman stuff. Like, I'm one of those few people that has not read Ocean at the End of the Lane. I know it's great, but I have read Stardust, and I have read and seen a lot of his other work, and I'm a big fan of his. So reading this Miracle Man stuff, my mind is just blown. It really is.
I love Neil Gaiman too. I've read a lot of his books.
Yeah, I mean, I know
Never
you're
was
not
my favorite.
I know that you're not a big, I know that you're not really a comic book reader, Stacey. I know, and I get it, but I'm just telling you, these Miracle Man books are just something truly amazing. And again, it's also because of, it's also just because of the fact that, this was stuff that he was writing before he was this big name. It's just like Alan Moore was writing Miracle Man before he wrote stuff like Watchmen, and he became that big name that everybody knows and respects. So that's awesome to me. Really is. Yeah. But it's like my Miracle Man comics, like I'm very, very careful with them. And it's just like I have them in their own separate box. I actually went to my local comic book store, and they actually had a comic box with Miracle Man prints on it. So I actually bought the box. I bought the box because it has the artist that works with Neil Gaiman on his books. His name is Mark Buckingham. I love his artwork, so it's got Mark Buckingham's art all over the box. Nice. So I was like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I love the fact that my comic book store also does comic book signings, but I don't know who they'll ever, if they would ever be able to get a guy like Neil Gaiman. Probably never. But it's, there's certain, whether it's comic books or whether it's just books in general, there are some writers that you just want to shake their hand and say, thank you very much for all that you've done. I love your work. But then there are those creators that you actually want to just stick around for a little while and just like get inside their heads because they've impacted you in such a way that you really want to get an understanding of like, how did you come up with this idea, or like, how did you get this opportunity to give us these great characters? Because it's like a comic book writer that I'm a big fan of. His name is Peter Tomasi. He's coming to my local comic book store in the beginning of February. So I'm going to go to the signing. I'm going to meet this guy. And he wrote a Green Lantern comic run alongside Jeff Johns, who's another one of my favorite writers. And he's also written some of the best Superman stories I've ever read. So he's like one of those guys where I'm going to ask him, like, you got this opportunity. How did you come up with this specific story? Because it just blew my mind. It's amazing,
That's cool.
Yeah,
That'll be fun.
Comic book signings are fun, and I love going to my
Book
comic book
signings
store.
in general are fun.
Oh yeah, I went to BookCon 2 times, and
I went the year it was in Chicago.
Oh yeah, who
That
did you
was
meet,
fun.
by the way?
Probably like we didn't do too many of the signings just because like there were too many lines and everything. But my favorite one was who wrote Horror Store?
I have no idea.
Grady Hendrix,
the
I
book.
think maybe. So what happened was we were at a booth and I was buying a book that was signed, and then Horror Store was just sitting there at the checkout, and I was like, actually, you know what? I'll take this too, because it had been on my TBR for like months at that point. And he was sitting right there, had no idea. He just looks at me, he goes, want me to sign that for you? And I was like, hi, yes, please. It was so funny. I was like, this book has been on my TBR forever. And so like in it, he actually wrote, I'm glad you're finally getting able to read this, have fun. And then
That's awesome.
First time I went to BookCon, the signing that I went to was not even an author. It was actually an actor. I got a book signed by Jeffrey Tambor because I am such a huge fan of his.
nice.
Yeah, like if you're an Arrested Development fan, you know who he is. So, but the funny thing was, he was in a movie that I love with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost called Paul. Not that many people know about it. And I
know
actually
Paul. I haven't seen it, but I know what it is.
You got to see it. It is a really, really good movie. It's really, really funny. So I bought the DVD case with me, and he plays a character in the movie called Adam Shadowchild. And so I had his book signed, and I just asked him, is there any way that you could sign my DVD sleeve, Adam Shadowchild? And his person was there, and he goes, no, he can't really sign anything else. And he said, hold on 1 second. This is a fan. I will sign it for him.
Nice.
And he actually signed it for me, Adam Shadowchild. I kind of laugh about the fact that he did it.
That's awesome.
He was really nice. But the second time I went, I actually met Brandon Sanderson. That was awesome.
Yeah, we were gonna see. There were a few people that we were gonna see, but the lines just ended up being way too long, so we just didn't.
Oh yeah, there were so many. The first year that I was there, I didn't get anything signed by them, or didn't actually get to meet them. But Chad Michael Murray was there.
Oh, that's fun.
And William Daniels was there too. I actually got to see this. I actually saw Mr. Feeney from a distance. That was pretty amazing.
That's fun. Yeah, Maggie Stiefvater was there, but like I had just seen her like the week before, for whichever Raven Boys book came out that year. And then Jay Kristoff was there as well, but again, line was too long. However, I did get to meet him like a year or two later, so that was fun.
Yeah, actually, the second year that we were there, Margaret Atwood was actually there, but and my wife really wanted to meet her, but the line was crazy long. But she did meet Naomi Novik, which was really nice. She thought that was really cool. But Brandon Sanderson, I am such a fan of his books.
Yeah.
He also writes great comics. I've actually said to myself, and I've never actually said this to anybody else, but I don't think Neil Gaiman is going to write any more Miracle Man stuff after he finishes his stories. I'm really curious to know if Marvel will want that run to continue and if there would be another person who would write it. I would think that Brandon Sanderson would be an excellent person to write Miracle Man. I could be completely wrong about that, and I could probably be crucified for it, but I would love to see someone else take the helm. I really would. We'll see. Anyway, everybody, I see people yawning and I see people rubbing their eyes just like my daughter does when she wants to go to sleep. So I think we're going to wrap it up. It was great to see everybody. I honestly...
I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, I honestly don't know when the next episode is going to be, everybody, and I think it's just a scheduling matter. I'm not sure, but I'll definitely let everybody out there know when we're going to be back, because the most important thing is I don't really know what I'm going to even be able to share next time, because this was fortunate. We were all lucky enough to actually have seen a great deal of shit, but I have no idea what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks, but we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment. We'd love to talk to you. And if you like what you watch, just give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and keep in touch for any of our latest videos. But in the meantime, everybody, we'll see you in the next one. If you enjoyed the video you just watched, feel free to leave a comment. Also, feel free to subscribe if you want to be up to date with our latest videos. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next one. Actions speak louder than words.